What if I told you that one decision by the US president nearly wrecked Canada's economy? That's what happened when President Trump slapped massive tariffs on Canadian goods. Billions in trade were suddenly at risk, threatening jobs and businesses across Canada. But just as things looked bleak, the world stepped in. Today we're counting down the top 10 countries that saved Canada from disaster, revealing how global alliances turned crisis into opportunity. Number 10 is the European Union. A whole continent of allies united not just by geography, but by a shared vision for prosperity and cooperation. In a world where economic uncertainty can strike overnight, having friends across the Atlantic proved to be a lifeline for Canada. Thanks to CETA, a comprehensive trade deal already in place, Canada suddenly had access to a vast market of 450 million people when US tariffs hit. This agreement wasn't just a piece of paper, it was a bridge, connecting Canadian businesses to new opportunities and customers across Europe. CETA eliminated nearly all tariffs, letting Canadian goods like beef, aluminum, and countless other products flood into Europe. For Canadian farmers, manufacturers, and exporters, this meant their goods could reach European shelves faster and at more competitive prices than ever before. Trade between Canada and the EU soared by tens of billions, especially in sectors hit hardest by US tariffs. The sudden boost in exports helped offset losses from the US market, keeping Canadian industries afloat and workers employed during a turbulent time. European companies also invested heavily in Canada, creating jobs, transferring technology, and stabilizing the economy. These investments brought new expertise and innovation, strengthening Canada's position on the global stage. The EU's quick action sent a clear message. Canada was open for business, and it wasn't alone. European partners stood shoulder to shoulder with Canadians, forging new partnerships and expanding existing ones. This wasn't just about trade, it was about solidarity, trust, and international cooperation. The EU's willingness to stand by Canada in a moment of need showed the true power of alliances. The EU's support was the first critical step in Canada's recovery, paving the way for renewed growth and confidence. It set the tone for how nations can work together to overcome adversity. It proved that when nations band together, they can change the game, not just for themselves but for the world. The European Union truly became Canada's continental lifeline. Number 9 is China, a surprising but crucial partner in Canada's economic story. At first glance, the relationship between these two countries might seem unlikely, even improbable, given their vast differences in culture, politics, and geography. Yet, when it comes to trade and economic survival, necessity often forges unexpected alliances. With the US market closing its doors, Canadian farmers faced a daunting future. But China's growing appetite for Canadian soybeans, pork, and canola became a lifeline, offering hope and stability when it was needed most. These agricultural exports helped keep rural communities alive and provided a crucial outlet for Canadian goods. Exports to China didn't just increase, they skyrocketed, offsetting painful losses from the US and fundamentally shifting Canada's trade patterns. This surge in demand from China helped Canadian producers adapt and innovate, finding new ways to meet international standards and expectations. In just a few years, China quickly rose to become one of Canada's top export destinations, providing vital diversification and reducing Canada's dependence on a single market. This shift was not just about numbers, it was about resilience and long-term security. Chinese investment in Canadian resources, technology, and real estate also injected much-needed capital into the economy. These investments created jobs, spurred development, and helped Canadian businesses expand their reach. Of course, the political relationship between Canada and China was often tense, marked by disagreements and diplomatic challenges. But despite these tensions, the economic partnership remained essential, driven by mutual benefit and the need to adapt in a changing world. China's willingness to buy Canadian goods, everything from seafood to agricultural products, kept thousands of businesses afloat and protected countless jobs across the country. Sometimes the most unlikely partnerships emerge in times of crisis, when survival is on the line and new opportunities must be seized. China's role in Canada's economic recovery proved that in the world of global economics, practical needs can override political differences, especially when livelihoods are at stake. This strategic pivot toward China helped Canada weather the storm, ensuring stability and growth in uncertain times. At number 8, it's Mexico, Canada's North American ally. Both countries faced US tariffs, forging a bond of solidarity and a united front in renegotiating NAFTA into the USMCA. They coordinated strategies, refused to be divided, and protected their economies. Beyond negotiations, Canada and Mexico increased trade with each other, strengthening supply chains, especially in the auto industry. This partnership preserved jobs and kept industries running. Mexico's support was about more than trade. It was about unity in the face of pressure. Together, they showed that cooperation beats division. Their alliance was a pillar of stability for Canada. North America didn't fracture, thanks to Mexico's solidarity. Number 7 is Japan, a true Pacific powerhouse and a nation whose influence stretches far beyond its shores. Japan's economic strength, technological innovation, and global reach have made it a key player in shaping the future of international trade. The CPTPP trade deal, led by Japan, opened a market of 500 million people to Canadian goods, just as US doors closed. This agreement was a game-changer, giving Canadian businesses a vital lifeline and new opportunities in the Asia-Pacific region. Canadian beef and pork exports to Japan skyrocketed, giving ranchers a new gold rush. Suddenly, Canadian farmers found their products in high demand on Japanese tables, with premium prices and a reputation for quality. It wasn't just agriculture. Canadian seafood, forestry, and financial services gained unprecedented access. From Atlantic lobster to British Columbia lumber, Canadian goods became staples in Japanese markets, while Canadian banks and insurers found new clients in Tokyo's financial hub. Japanese investment in Canada's tech and auto sectors created high-quality jobs. These partnerships brought advanced manufacturing, research and innovation to Canadian cities, helping to drive economic growth and foster new skills. Japan's leadership in the CPTPP was a vote of confidence in Canada. It signaled to the world that Canada was a trusted partner, ready to engage with the fastest-growing economies on the planet. This partnership helped Canada pivot toward Asia's dynamic economies, opening doors to new markets and forging connections that will shape the next generation of trade. Japan didn't just open its market, it championed Canada's place in the Pacific, advocating for deeper ties and greater cooperation across the region. The result? A powerful new engine of growth, fueling prosperity and innovation for both nations, and setting the stage for a future defined by partnership and opportunity. Number 6 is South Korea, a high-tech ally. The Canada-Korea Free Trade Agreement gave Canadian exporters tariff-free access to a booming market. Exports of resources and agriculture to South Korea rose steadily, providing reliable revenue. But the real magic was in tech. Canadian and Korean companies partnered on AI, clean tech, and innovation. South Korean giants like Samsung and LG invested in Canada, modernizing industries and creating skilled jobs. This was more than trade. It was a two-way flow of knowledge and capital. South Korea's support offered both immediate relief and long-term benefits. It helped Canada stay resilient and future-focused. A true tech and trade partnership. Number 5 is the United Kingdom, Canada's historic friend. Even amid Brexit chaos, the UK prioritized its relationship with Canada, signing a continuity agreement to keep trade flowing. This meant no tariff cliff for Canadian exporters. Business continued as usual. The UK remained a major market for Canadian goods and a top source of investment. British companies kept investing in Canada, seeing it as a stable gateway to North America. The UK's commitment provided stability and confidence during uncertain times. Old friends proved their value when it mattered most. The UK-Canada bond was a bedrock of support. Number 4 is India, the world's largest democracy and a rising economic giant. The US tariffs accelerated Canada's push to diversify, and India's huge market became a top target. Canadian exports of lentils, peas, potash, and minerals to India soared, boosting prairie farmers and resource industries. Indian investment in Canadian IT, pharma, and resources grew, while Canadian pension funds poured billions into India. Both countries are negotiating a free trade deal, promising even more growth. India's emergence as a key partner gave Canada a vital new avenue for expansion. The relationship is still growing, with massive potential ahead. India helped power Canada's economy forward. Number 3 is Australia, Canada's Commonwealth cousin. Both nations pushed the CPTPP, creating a powerful trading bloc and opening their markets to each other. Canadian machinery, agriculture, and services found a welcoming market in Australia, while Canadians benefited from Australian goods. Investment flowed both ways, creating jobs and growth. Australian leaders stood with Canada in global forums supporting open trade. This partnership made both economies more resilient and less dependent on any single partner. Australia's solidarity and investment were invaluable. Together they built a stronger, more diversified future. Number 2 is Brazil, the economic giant of South America. Canadian potash exports to Brazil soared, fueling Brazil's massive agriculture sector and supporting Canadian mining. Canada also became a bigger market for Brazilian products like coffee and aircraft. Investment flowed both ways, especially in mining and agri-food. By building ties with Brazil, Canada diversified its risk and tapped into a booming market. This partnership created new economic activity across the Americas. Brazil's role showed the power of reaching beyond traditional allies. It was a strategic win for both countries. And at number 1, Germany, the economic engine of Europe. Germany embraced the CETA deal, becoming a top market for Canadian raw materials and technology. Trade between the two countries hit record highs, especially in aerospace and automotive sectors. German giants like Siemens and Volkswagen doubled down on Canadian investments, creating thousands of jobs. This partnership built stable supply chains and injected billions into Canada's economy. Germany's commitment was a massive vote of confidence. Shared values of free trade and innovation made this alliance a cornerstone of Canada's resilience. Germany didn't just help Canada survive, it helped it thrive. Here you have it. 10 countries that formed a global coalition to help Canada through one of its toughest economic challenges. Their support forced Canada to diversify, making its economy more resilient and dynamic. Canada emerged stronger, more globally connected, and less dependent on any single partner. It's proof that international alliances can overcome even the toughest economic pressures. Which country do you think helped Canada the most? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of global resilience.